Hello everyone, it is the build-up show, the champions of England taking on Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, Sunday, 4:30pm kickoff. I'm Paul Machin, Chris Pajak joins me, and Emma Sanders as well.
It's not even the big news.
It's not
I don't even want to talk about Chelsea, Paul.
Genuinely not bothered about talking about Liverpool-Chelsea because Liverpool, at time, right now, we're live on YouTube. You've just done another live show prior to this. It looks like Thiago Alcantara is finally going to be a Liverpool player. We will talk. You know what? We might as well start with a bit of that. We are going to do this. We are going to do this in much more depth and detail. We're going to do a Redmen React special immediately after this on the redmentv.com. So go and check that out. But Chris, you've been literally dancing around the room.
I'm a happy boy. I mean, what more can you want? I mean, we've got Rafinha's brother, Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically it, isn't it? And he's sorted, and he's boss, and he's going to make us better. And everyone, no one's got an excuse to whinge anymore because we're actually going to go and sign someone who's world class. So all that strengthening from a position of strength thing, that will quieten them. Yeah. And it's win-win because I was like, I'd love us to sign Thiago, but I don't think we're going to. I kind of made peace with it, so it's a bit of just a bit of a shock. And I know Bayern came out, didn't he, and said basically you need to get it wrapped up before the Bundesliga starts, which is tomorrow. That seems to have forced Liverpool's hand, but it's Joyce, it's Pierce, it's Thiago. I mean, now's a great time to be a Liverpool fan.
Absolutely, indeed. And yeah, you walked in the building to nothing but happiness.
Yeah, I genuinely hadn't even heard. Like, I literally walked through the door and Ross was like, "We've signed Thiago." I thought, no, we haven't. He said, "No, genuinely, we have." I said, "Right, who's tweeted it?" And he was like, "Joyce." I was like, "Oh my God."
My first thing was, have you checked it's the right Paul Joyce? Have you checked on it? Have you checked it's the real James Pierce? Because we've been here before.
Yeah, absolutely. We will. It's probably too soon for the weekend for Thiago, you'd guess. Why? Well, maybe not.
Why is it too soon?
Because it's Thursday and we play on Sunday
and we haven't signed him
yet. He doesn't play for us
yet. But he's world class, mate. Just get him in the side. No messing around.
Lincoln are probably a spot of bother, though.
No, poor old Lincoln. No, I just think get him on the bench or something. It's too soon for probably a midfield spot. But if there's a team in world football that Liverpool play similarly to, Bayern Munich is one of those sides, and maybe the closest that I know of anyway. So as far as a midfield, the questions are Liverpool moving to 4-2-3-1? Or are Liverpool going to stay 4-3-3 and he's going to play an 8? Because I don't see Fabinho moving from that 6. And is he going to be that creative midfielder that we've craved for so long, and in a different way to how you'd think maybe a Kevin De Bruyne or something? Certainly he's got all the tools to unlock a defence if they are packed, but he's amazing in that deeper role as well, and his speed of thought, his speed of pass is up there with the best players in the world. I mean, he's been at the top of the game now for 6-7 years, something like that, going back to when he was at Barcelona. This is an exciting signing, and one that really changes the landscape of FSG's ownership of Liverpool as well, by signing a 29-year-old for this amount of money. That's just really not Liverpool. And it says to me that, we know what COVID is going to do, but everyone's strengthened. Liverpool are in the position now to strengthen, and they've gone out and it looks like they're going to do it.
Absolutely. And I mean, one thing, if nothing else, if he doesn't figure at the weekend, which again, I wouldn't expect it. I know he's been in training with Bayern, so he'll be prepared. I mean, look at the Bundesliga start, and he'll have been prepared to start the Bundesliga season. But what that does is, it's going to be interesting to see what that does on the other midfielders. Joyce was tweeting saying it's not dependent on another midfielder leaving. Yeah. I think we'll see how true that is. Probably by the end of January, we'll know how true that was.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Where are you going?
Yeah. But it's going to be interesting to see what that does to the performance levels of Fabinho, what it does to the levels of Jordan Henderson, what it does to Gini, what it does to Keita, what it does to Curtis Jones. Whoever's going to be picked for the Chelsea game, they know that there's a lad coming in who, by all accounts, on pure raw ability, is almost guaranteed a starting bit.
Yeah, and that's why I don't think he will start on Sunday, because Klopp is going to expect these players that are already at Liverpool to go out and fight for their position, and that's what he'll want. So he'll name his starting 11, and he'll say, right, you guys know who's just walked into this dressing room. Go and show me why you want to be starting week in, week out.
Sorry, what?
Do you have a YouTube channel?
Oh, yes, I do. Thank you.
Like he's never going to get
a small mouse whispering off to the side.
I was thinking, what have I said?
We actually had a super chat in, which fits with this really nice. Sham saying, do you think it's ironic that Klopp is now taking Bayern's good players?
Well,
That's probably the reason he's forced this
Yeah,
through, Chris.
I
Yeah,
actually
that's
didn't
what-
even think about that.
But like now, this is the two. Klopp came out and said when we signed Naby Keita that we've got one of the two best players in the Bundesliga, and the other player that he name checked back then was Thiago as the other player. So in his mind, he's got the two best players out of the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
Not sure if he still thinks that, but you know he did back then. But what a great thing for Klopp to be able to do. I mean, how many times did it happen? Was Hummels on his watch, or was that a little bit later? Was Lewandowski on his watch?
Lewandowski
But
gets
later.
being
I mean,
good, yeah.
it must have just pissed him off forever. That's why he's like, I don't care. Just go and get their players for me and get me Lewandowski as well, will you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Why not?
I'd take him.
No, but it's right, isn't it? I think there's, and I don't think this really will be a factor, Emma. But I suspect when he sits down at, probably when it's all boxed and he sits down tonight or whatever, on his own at home, and he sits down in front of the telly and he's got a little bottle of Erdinger open or whatever, and he just goes,
Definitely not skimming it.
yeah, he probably just goes. And has that little moment of like, in your face, Bayern
Fuck you,
Munich.
Bayern.
Yeah.
I mean, he's literally in that position where he knows that he's got the best team in England, the best team in Europe, the best team in the world. He's one of, in my opinion, the best managers in the world. He knows that he can attract the best players in the world. So basically, everything's the best.
Everything is the absolute best it could ever be, forever and ever. Right, let's just turn our attention ever so slightly towards the game. Oh, actually, sorry, we've got one more super chat before we do, and it's on Thiago. Let's stick with it. Ashley Frith, so buzzing we finally signed Thiago. Big statement signing. We'll get the naysayers off FSG's back. Also taking away from Man United feels sweet. I mean, I like the fact that Man United might not have even really been
They had
in.
no chance.
Yeah.
They're not in the same. They're barely in the same
came
league,
in
are
and
they?
went, come on, Thiago. And he went, yes, boss.
That was a handful of cash, Emma. That wasn't.
Yeah,
that wasn't Chris's
It's a little
penis.
bit scary, actually.
Yeah. So good, very good. Thank you very much for your super chats. Keep them coming in. I'll read through some of them as we go along. Let's look at the game then. Chris, Frank Lampard. He seems bang up for a little bit of rivalry, doesn't he?
He's
trying everything.
And that's sound. I don't mind that. We've got a bit of a relatively recent, although not so recent rivalry with Chelsea nowadays, haven't we? I think, we've had the better of them over the last couple of years, haven't we? I think we've won 6 out of the last 12 at Stamford Bridge. Only lost 3, drawn 3 over there as well. Now, obviously, we got the defeat, was it in the FA Cup 5th round last season, but we did them home and away. Was it 8-goal thriller, was it, at the end of the season? Was it 5-3 that game finished in the end? But they've been tough games, and they've obviously improved players-wise. And I don't know whether they've actually improved as a team yet, although I think that will come. I'm actually quite happy that we've got them early on in the season, to be honest with you, because I do see that in a couple of months' time, they could be really amazing, to be honest with you.
I think Chris is spot on with that, Emma. If you were going to hand pick a time to play Chelsea, now is the absolute perfect time, and particularly at Stamford Bridge when there's no fans in there. Stamford Bridge is not a nice place to go, and I think you can look at the record in two ways. You can look and go, we've got a decent record, but we don't have a consistent record of success at Stamford Bridge. It is a place where we've gone and we do struggle there at times. They give us a good game regardless. Not having those fans behind them, and yes, they've gone out and they've been spectacular in this transfer window. I think there's no other way of putting it. There's a lot of very enviable talent that they've got in that team and had in that team already. I would rather have them before they're fully up to speed, up and gelled, up and firing.
Yeah, I mean, I covered their last game and I thought that they were patchy. I didn't think it was a great performance. Yeah, they got the win. That was all they needed to do. That was all Liverpool needed to do in their
Brighton
first
gave
game.
them a really good game.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, but I mean, Werner obviously played. He looked quite sharp, but you could tell that he hadn't really quite gelled with the teammates yet. Wasn't quite getting that final ball and those final passes in the third. So I thought Havertz struggled a little bit to get into the game. Obviously, Ben Chilwell and Thiago weren't in that back four. They'll obviously come into it, you'd expect, later on in the season. So Chelsea are going to improve. But, I mean, I look at the back four that they named against Brighton. I think, off the top of my head, you had Kurt Zuma in there. Obviously, they had that Reece James, Marcos Alonso, and who else did they have at the back with Kurt Zuma?
It's a great question. There's no way of knowing.
But, yeah, and it was
Google
just like,
exist.
I looked at that back four and just thought, if they name that back four against Liverpool, then I think Liverpool are going to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, the Werner stuff I think is most interesting of that, Emma, because I think what you're saying there is that he's not quite integrated into that side, and you can tell in his performance. I think he was out there to lay a marker down. Some of the shots that he's taken on. I mean, look, he's full of confidence and he's been full of goals for a long while now. So he'll back himself in those situations. But it had the faint sense of a man who just wanted to get it underway so that he could get that weight off his chest. And that's one thing that I think is interesting. If he'd signed for Liverpool, I don't think he plays the first game of the season for Liverpool. He might not even play the second game of the season. Whereas that's the thing about them right now is they've now got an added pressure. They've got these boss lads in. They've got no time to wait and integrate. They've got to get them into the first team and get them up and running.
Yeah, absolutely, because they have to take that next step and that next level, and that's what Frank Lampard said after that last game. He said we have to have the intention to be able to compete with the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City, and obviously in order to do that they had to go and spend over 200 million this summer. And obviously you're not going to leave those players on the bench, so he has to start integrating them at some point. And because they brought so many names in, I guess the earlier you get them in, the better. But, you know, like I said, I think the fact that he still had the likes of like Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Mason Mount, Reece James, Kurt Zouma in the side shows that, you know, he's still not quite had that time to work with those players yet, and that will work to Liverpool's advantage.
One of the things, though, that because I read the stat, I just pulled it up there, that did work for Chelsea against Brighton was the fact that he had 50% of Chelsea's shots, so they're finding him.
Yeah.
You know, he had 10 shots on the day. That's quite a lot for a debut for a side, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
You know, the difficulty he had is that he only got one of those shots on target, 1 out of 10. So he'll be looking to bounce back from that as well. But that does say to me that Frank got the ball at his striker's feet, which is obviously a game plan and what they'll have been hoping for. And they'll probably be coming away going, that's good, that's a great start. Keep that up. Keep giving him 10 chances a game. He's going to score goals.
I mean, the interesting one about the one that's on target is the one that he's never going to score from. It's like edge of the box corner, like left-footed or whatever, and right to the goalkeeper. But I think you're right. I think look. I'm not going to sit here and try to weave a narrative that says Werner's not good. He's amazing, and he's going to cause us problems in this game. And I think particularly, Emma, you know, the one lingering criticism that we've had of Liverpool now that it looks like they're not good, they do spend money in transfers, is the defence quite up to speed. And what we've got at the moment is this bank of evidence that until it's disproven, you know, it's dead easy to go all the way back to the end of February and then count lockdown, where, you know, and then count, you know, go, oh look, they went all this time, and they, you know, and the restart, and even obviously the Leeds United game, and say Liverpool's defence isn't quite what it was. That's the lingering criticism when they've got the likes of Kai Havertz and Werner. It's for Virgil van Dijk, who's had, I think, too many individual mistakes, and for Alisson Becker as well. Particularly, this is a game where we'll know, I think, because you can't afford to be switched off in a big game like this.
Well, I think just then when you said you can't afford to be switched off, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that you have to be fully focused when you're playing these world-class players, because even if they haven't been embedded into the team yet, they haven't had that time to work with the teammates, they're still world-class players and they can turn it on at any moment in the game. And, you know, like you said, Werner had so many shots last week, and it's like, you know, if he has that same ratio this week, then, you know, there's a high chance that one of them is going to force a save out of Alisson, or, you know, if not worse. So I think Trent needs to have a better game. Van Dijk needs to be focused. He needs to be organised in that back four. They've got to be really switched on for those runs in behind. And I think Liverpool need to keep the ball better in midfield as well. I don't think they did that well enough against Leeds. So yeah, all of them need to be. They need to be really switched on for sure.
For me, I think, you know, what I think what you're saying is absolutely spot on. It's that Liverpool need to prove that it's not an issue for it, because it's all well and good sitting here every week going the games didn't matter and all that. The facts of the matter are that Liverpool conceded 15 goals in 8 games. And to concede 15 goals prior to that, it took 23 games to score 15 goals against us. You look at those 2 blocks and you go, big difference. Now, we know something happened in the middle and Liverpool won the league, but Liverpool have to go out there, and I keep referencing it, Emma, almost every show, is that tweet that you put out around lockdown just after the restart, where it's like, you can't give teams the idea that they can get something against Liverpool, and that's what we're in danger of doing at the moment.
It's funny, isn't it, because look at the numbers that Liverpool have conceded in that big spell. Like Man City is a massive outlier. It shouldn't be used as evidence, but I think so much of football's played in the head, and it's a psychological thing that if teams feel as though they can get something from Liverpool, it doesn't matter whether they're not going, actually, I think you'll find that Liverpool conceded actually a couple of goals in extra time against Atletico Madrid, so that really doesn't count against their goals against against them. And then, they were all bladdered. They were absolutely off their heads drunk against Man City. So that doesn't really count. So best if we don't have a goal, lads, because the stats don't really stack up. It's a psychological impact there where, some of them will tell. My counterpoint on it, and I think I mentioned this on a show the other day, that I'm happy for teams to come at us. I think it makes it exciting, if nothing else. And look, Chelsea were never not going to come at us. Yeah. Chelsea, particularly at home, they're always going to come and give us a game. I'm properly excited for this because I really want to see what Chelsea have got. There was actually something I was actually quite enjoying about Chelsea last year. I mean, their approach wasn't commendable because it was enforced because they'd had the transfer ban. But I realised I had no great problem with Lampard. A few of their young players I quite liked. I quite liked the look of Pulisic as well. It helped that he skinned City to win us the title.
Didn't help that he skinned us.
Yeah, absolutely. But it did help that we battered them in the end. But yeah, it's... But part of me quite likes a lot of their players, quite likes their style of play. And now that we've got this little bit of added needle, you've got a bit of Klopp having a go at the money that they're spending. You've got Lampard coming back and not understanding how math works, which is great. You've got him talking about being Billy Big Bollocks or whatever on the touchline and Liverpool beating them and ha 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 ha. It's all adding up to a game that the season's been a bit it's just been a bit underwhelming because you're not in the ground. But this is the first time for me anyway, and I'm I cannot wait for this game to kick off just to see what happens.
I was waiting for the Leeds game. I was really excited about that, and because it's the side that I like. So for me, I'm happy with it. I'm looking forward to this game because I think we can put a marker down to the rest of the league and show them basically that we are still champions for a reason, and that's what it's about. And I do worry a little bit about us teams going at us because right now we have got a bit of a soft underbelly, to be honest. Yeah. I'd rather teams sit back and us pick them apart, not show any, ambition whatsoever, because I think that's an easier game. Certainly for my heart rate, it is. That Leeds game, it was horrible at points. It was an enjoyable game of football if you can take the fan side of it out, and it was great for the neutral. But my word, as a Liverpool fan with 10 minutes to go, I was stressing out. I'm like, oh my God, we're doing 2010 all over again. We're not going to win our first 3 games. What's going to happen here? We're going to be out the title race before it all starts. And then we score the goal and we're like, we're the best team in the world. We're signed, and now we're going to sign Thiago as well, and we're going to get even better. So yeah, there's something about it. It's a big game against the sides who are gunning for our position in the league. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think the thing with Chelsea as well is that they will play to their strengths, which is also getting at teams. But we all know that Chelsea will concede goals, and they've shown that. They showed it last season. They showed it against Brighton. So I think when we talk about mentality from Liverpool's defensive point of view, I think Chelsea have got it in their heads that they're very susceptible to conceding goals. So if Liverpool can get at them early and show that they're still, a big threat going forward, then that will be playing on Chelsea players' minds as well.
Just a little bit on the mentality. I've got a cracking little stat for you. I promised you a stat at the start of the show, Emma, didn't I?
Oh, okay.
And it's not your one. I'm not going to take this.
Still, man.
This will be the first time Liverpool, barring first games of the season, where Liverpool have played a side higher than them in the table since October 2018.
That's a good stat, that.
Told you I had a good stat for you. That's it. So when we drew 0-0 with Manchester City, how does that change the mentality, Paul? Yeah. They're playing someone who's genuinely higher than them in the league, admittedly on goal difference.
Incredible. Well, we're joint top, aren't we, Chris? It's all psychological, isn't it?
Hey, tell you what, I've had my brother texting me this morning. We could go top Saturday. Right.
Oh, the end. To be fair, this is the point. Liverpool fans are all in an amazing mood. Everton fans on the City. It's and the weather's been great all week. Liverpool is just the best city to
honestly,
be in.
Honestly, if it just cracked off and just floated into the sea a little bit, we'd be made up.
Oh yeah,
you'd be no happier.
Yeah, if it did one of two things, if it floated down and attached to mainland Europe, that would be absolutely amazing. Or worst case, it would be a bit colder, but if it attached to Scotland, we'd probably be laughing as well.
I think I'd rather go for the.
I go for the slightly better
Portugal
weather.
With them little custards. Just get on there. I reckon there's a little bit of space at the bottom. We'll just wedge in there.
Squeeze down the Irish Sea. Down there and then that sounds good to me.
Pastel de nada or whatever it's called. I love a little bit of that.
We're going to talk.
No idea where that went.
On me white pins.
We've had a pins. Pins.
That's
yeah.
such a Chris
okay.
word,
Sounds. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah, hams.
Christmas hams.
Christmas hams.
Right, we got a super chat from Damien Jurovsky. He said, I'm worried about Jones's minutes for the season now, and does this mean Brewster is sold? Right, we will discuss that when we return. We're going to have a very... Mugs are available now on the Redmen TV shop. You can literally just roll. If you're on YouTube right now, you can roll underneath. There will be a shelf there, and you can click through and have a little peruse, or you can go to redmentv.com and click the shop tab. That's another good way to get there. There's loads of Boss new stuff on there as well. There's a Street Fighter 2 inspired design, which I contributed to, which is great. And you've got the Jordan Henderson Evolution t-shirt, which is now also available as a mug as well. Brilliant. Right, let's...
For free?
Yeah.
Thanks.
If you pay.
Oh.
She's paid. Consider it an appearance fee.
Yeah, you can have this one.
Coronavirus, Chris.
Right, I know, yeah, absolutely. Right, okay, so let's go back to
David. A fucking mask to go with it.
David's been on your face, even better. Here's
that's not that. That's not the mask.
Is that your G-string?
Yeah.
David Janowski I mean, look, this is an interesting one again. Something we're going to cover on the Thiago Reacts special on the website a bit later on. But he says he's worried about Jones's minutes for the season. Does this mean Brewster's sold? I mean, Paul Joyce had said he doesn't think it's dependent on other midfielders going out, but actually doesn't say there won't be other players that leave the side. Just quickly on it, because we it doesn't not quite fit in with what we're talking about. But what are your thoughts on that, the Jones stuff and the Brewster stuff?
I think Brewster will go out on loan anyway, and I think he needs to personally. So I've sort of said that all summer. I don't think my position on that has changed. In terms of Curtis Jones, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll get minutes. Klopp showed last season that he'll bring him on and during the restart really, but he'll bring him on and he'll give him those minutes. And he showed the other day that he can be a really, really valuable member of this team. I thought he played well against Leeds when he came on, so I think Curtis will be fine. I think
we're looking, Chris, look at the team at the weekend. Mm-hmm. There's now a week between Leeds and the Chelsea game, where you're looking at like, Minamino, where does Minamino get his game? Ox wasn't even fit, so he wasn't even on the bench. You've got Fabinho in there. You've got a bunch of lads, and you're thinking, where's the game time coming from? That looks like an issue right now. But in a month's time, we're playing 2 games a week every week.
I don't see that it's a massive issue. I think when Manchester City can have a squad of 25 players and give them game time and they play the same amount of games as us, then Liverpool the players are good enough. Yeah. I think the issue in the past is that the backup players weren't good enough. Mm. Now you're looking at it and going, Kurt Jones is good enough, so he can get 30 minutes every game if necessary.
There's always got to be something to worry about, hasn't there?
It's mad, isn't it? But these lads are much better than the subs that we've had in the past, so they'll deserve and they will get their minutes. Yeah. Kurt's got that little bit of sort of versatility to him as well. He could always play on one of the wing positions. Minamino can play the number 9 and one of those wing positions, and you've got James Milner who can slot in left and right fullbacks and midfield. So there's loads of options for Jurgen in this squad at the moment. And we were hearing last night that Brewster might be 25 million to Sheffield United, which could be an interesting one as well. Yeah. With that buyback clause and stuff. Now, Paul Joyce, reading between the lines, said it's not dependent on midfielders going out. Mm-hmm. He didn't say anything about forwards or defenders. Yeah. So I mean, maybe Brewster's the make weight in all of that, and maybe Kurt becomes one of those wingers.
I think the thing is, Liverpool haven't really competed in terms of like domestic cup competitions for a while now. Yes, we've competed in Europe and the Premier League at the same time, but now that we're expanding that squad, can we then start competing for these cup competitions as well? Because I think all the best teams in the world, City have gone out and won, domestic trebles. Why can't Liverpool go and do that now?
They don't. The Carabao Cup doesn't matter.
No,
but it adds to the Wall of Champions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it all just it's all part of the mystique of Liverpool Football Club and how big you are. When you talk about major trophies, it's on there, isn't it?
And it's a desire to win more trophies after that as well.
Yeah. And look, we said this last season. We've been crying out for easy draws in those competitions rather than getting Chelsea in the third round of the Carabao Cup every fucking year. And we got a favourite.
We're first now. We should get Lincoln every round.
Well, no, but we got MK Dons first time round, and we did a rotated side, and it was all about James Milner playing left back and Curtis Jones picks up man of the match in that game. We played a largely young side, but with some senior players in there, and then we did the same against Arsenal as well. Mm-hmm. And then we'd have done the same against Villa, but we had no choice but to send all of the squad to another continent to become world champions instead. Now you're looking at a world where that squad isn't just the young players, and now Curtis Jones and Nico Williams, who are senior players all of a sudden.
And Harvey Elliott as well.
And Harvey Elliott, these lads are actually lads who would get a game for us in our first. If we had a couple of injuries in there, they drop in and we wouldn't have an issue with it. So yeah, I think it is. That's an important issue. And again, right now we can't see it, but for me, it's like that point I said before, is there's always got to be something for us to be a little bit worried about. Be more worried that, like, a couple of years ago we were playing Dom Solanke centre forward in the Merseyside derby because we needed to rotate and that was who we had. Whereas now...
Good times.
Well, no.
There's a lad sat behind camera who's cringing right now. He's only scratching his arm. So I was
when the cameras stop changing, you'll know Si's just lost in an angry reverie. Yeah, just a quick update because we're live right now. Thiago will undergo his medical today, according to David Maddock.
Wow. Chris is just going for another lap around.
He does say he believes he'll make his debut in the EFL Cup at Lincoln next Thursday. But yeah, right, we'll carry on with it all then. Look, largely then the same sort of questions that we had ahead of the Leeds game, Emma. Gomez or Matip really in at the back, and it's whether we feel there's a benefit in terms of solidity that putting Matip in. You know what I mean? Like, the only reason I think you would throw Matip in is if you felt that you needed to bomb Gomez out at this point, because Matip hasn't played football for us. He's had some warm up behind closed doors games. He had to have half a game against Blackpool in pre-season. So I can't imagine it won't be Joe Gomez who starts this.
Yeah.
I say that with Santiago, it could be Fabinho.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. Now, I mean, this whole Gomez-Matip argument for me, I'm quite neutral on it. I don't think the drop off or the game between either is that much of a difference. So I just think why kind of stop building the partnership that Gomez and Van Dijk have clearly started to build over the last year? So
don't be so fucking logical, Emma.
Stick with that.
No, pick a side and die on that hill.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, Gomez for me.
I think what you raised there is a brilliant point, though, because it's something that I've been thinking about since the Thiago news broke. Is this our answer to we can't sign a backup centre half? We trust in Hoover and Vandenberg and Cometio for the next seasons, and this is just one of those ones where Fabinho, and I was adamant that this wouldn't happen at the start of the season, as everyone knows, is now that 4-3 centre half.
Yeah. But I think that'll only be in the cup competitions, or maybe in Europe, depending on what teams we play. But I don't see that being a Premier League feature, personally.
Can I ask you then, is there a particular reason you think Fabinho couldn't be a great centre half?
Oh no, I genuinely think he's got the abilities, and he's got, like, the way he plays, you can see him as a centre half. But I think he's too good of a holding midfielder to move back into centre half. Like, why would you take away what he can do from that deep line position as that kind of pivot in midfield when you've got somebody of that ability who can break down play? Like, why take that out of your team?
Because you might have signed someone else who can do it just as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
thing.
Yeah,
it's an interesting one, and again, at the moment, these are all X factors.
It's great to be able to talk about things like this again, though, isn't it? Yeah. Not just is it Wijnaldum or Keita?
Yeah, I think at the minute I would say Fabinho is probably his our fourth choice centre half, but he's our first choice number 6. Yeah. I mean, not literally, because Thiago's about to take number 6 shirt, but is in DM, and you're right, because we might just play 4-2-3-1, and that might be our new formation, or it might be we play one formation at home and one formation away, or we've got a Champions League team and we've got a Premier League team, because we could literally...
Oh, times are good.
Oh, I know.
Times are good.
But you could be like, this is the point, is that we're getting to a position where, okay, you may be changing 4 every week. So Minamino, one of Henderson, Thiago or Fabinho swaps out every alternating games. You may be swapping in a centre half, and you could potentially swap the left back round. For these things to keep it all fresh.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, you want 2 players that are of first team quality for every single position in the squad, don't you? So we've got that now in Thiago and Fabinho. So Fabinho is a 4th choice centre back, but ultimately, like I said, for me, like, his number 1 position is absolutely in midfield, and I don't see why you would. If
there's one season, I think you can get away with what. And we know that Klopp isn't a big fan of having too many bodies. But it's telling that by apparently he's pushed for this Thiago thing to go through. Is that I think this is the one season you can get away with it when you're league champions on the back of winning the European Cup, where you know you're a proper destination now, definitely more than we've been for a very, very long time. And the games are going to come thick and fast without a proper pre-season. There are going to be so many injuries this season. You know, we haven't really seen it just yet, but there will be. It just happens, and particularly for the likes of Jordan Henderson, who's not had a pre-season. When players who play in physical areas of the pitch for us don't have pre-seasons, they don't last particularly well. So it will be interesting to see. But yeah, you know, good problems to have. I guess Chris, largely the same team probably from the weekend, given that there's the Lincoln game on the horizon.
Yeah, I think he goes with the same back five. He goes with the front three again, and then there might be a change in the middle of the park, something like that.
Yeah.
I see that he probably plays the 4-3-3. We had success with it against Chelsea last season and stuff. So obviously we know all about what we can do in that formation. It would really surprise me if he went 4-2-3-1 for this one.
Yeah, no, I agree with Chris. I think the only change for me would be to bring in Fabinho for maybe Keita, just because he can provide that little bit of bastardness in midfield against Chelsea. You know, ruffle up Mason Mount a little bit. But yeah, that's the only change for me.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. I want to get some score predictions from you guys. Keep your thoughts coming in on the team in the comments. Underneath, obviously, Chris will be doing a starting 11 prediction, which you know we don't know. It might well have Thiago in it.
Is that the print?
Is that the sound of Ross frantically printing something?
I thought it was Tom. I thought Tom did all that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Tom, yeah.
Tom.
It's not the sound of the printer.
So that's Tom sighing. Emma, what do you think the score is going to be?
7-8. No, joking. I reckon 3-1 to Liverpool.
Cool, Chris.
2-0 to Liverpool.
Oof.
We don't concede a goal.
sheet.
Oh wow. Okay.
Shoot me now.
I think another 4-3 throw
Yeah.
to Liverpool. Why not? And
Yeah.
you know, so we can still have like they need to improve this defence. I need to do whatever. You know, just to keep
Better
discussing.
shut up shop against Lincoln.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Adrian throws one against Lincoln and it all goes off. Right, we'll worry about that bridge when we get to it. Yes, guys, thank you so much. As mentioned, there is, of course, the fantastic Redmen merch. New lines available for you right now. If you're on YouTube, you can check it out underneath the video. If you want more on Thiago Alcantara, Liverpool's, it appears to be new number 6, Redmen Reacts will be up this afternoon. Go to the redmentv.com, sign up, and you get that show and a whole host of extra additional bonus content each and every week, including an amazing back catalogue of interviews, exclusives and features as well. Yes, we hope to see you over there. If not, Chris will be back for the start 11 prediction later today.
Yeah. Let's stick with later today.
At some point.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yes, we will be back, if not live, on Sunday with the team news 10 minutes before the team goes. So that's like an hour and 10 minutes before kickoff, and with the commentary as well from quarter of an hour to kickoff. So we'll see you there as well. Ta-da.